bears some responsibility in this as well, as does Jeff Sessions. Jeff Sessions is now, after judges shut this down, Jeff Sessions says, oh, well, we'll fight this in the court. There's nothing to fight. There wasn't any law. Nothing changed in the law. And if Nielsen is going to enforce the law, she needs to start to enforce the law. That means that you ignore DACA. And that means that you ignore the judges that pretend that there was some kind of law that was passed. There wasn't any law. And Nielsen went on to say, the president is rightly frustrated that existing loopholes, it's not a loophole, it's an executive order, if you will, not even really an executive order, but just as I said before, like the Paris Climate Agreement or the Iran deal that he just got out of, these were things that were put together by Barack Obama without any law. They were just executive orders. So you can get out of them, and you can get out of DACA, just like you just got out of the Obama deal with Iran. She said, the president is rightly frustrated that existing loopholes and a lack of congressional action have prevented this administration from fully securing the border and protecting the American people. I share this frustration. Let me tell you something. This is not a lack of congressional action. This is a lack of action from the Trump administration. The Trump administration keeps saying, well, Congress needs to do something about DACA. They need to protect these people. And we're not going to enforce the law until Congress protects them. He's punted the ball into their court, but the ball is not in their court. And as WND is pointing out, and I've pointed this out for many, many months. I think it's been, well, certainly since this show began, back in August, I've been talking about this. Reversing Trump, can a district judge rule the world? No, they can't. And I've been saying that. Can a federal district judge in Denver or San Francisco or New York or Dallas issue an order that can effectively rule the world? You could add Hawaii to that as well. The fact that a single judge anywhere in the country can somehow overrule the President of the United States from exercising a power explicitly granted him by the Constitution raises a question. Just what can those judges who operate at the lowest level of the federal judiciary system truly control? Now, that is a rhetorical question, because our founders, even our most statist founder, Alexander Hamilton, said the judiciary was the least effective, least dangerous of the branches because they didn't have any way to execute their orders. And Andrew Jackson said the same thing. He said, well, the Supreme Court has made, not the district federal judge, but the Supreme Court has made their opinion. Let's see them enforce it. That's what President Trump should say. Instead, he's saying we've got to protect the DACA people. They're great people. Welcome back. I'm David Knight, and we're going to be talking to Joel Skousen in the next segment. We're going to talk to him about foreign affairs. Of course, his website is worldaffairsbrief.com, and he is an expert on military and foreign affairs. We'll be talking to him about what's going on in Iran, also North Korea, and with China. So it'd be an interesting discussion. Stay with us. But I want to finish up on immigration because I pointed out President Trump was reportedly very angry. Everybody who was at the cabinet meeting, he blew up at the Department of Homeland Secretary for a half hour. New York Times Politico reported that she had drafted a resignation letter. Others said they weren't aware of any resignation letter. However, one of her spokespersons said she is very frustrated. She has to follow the law, and Congress is not doing anything. Well, Congress never did anything to create DACA, as I said before. They tried to push through a DREAM Act. You know, they call these people dreamers. They're not dreamers. There was never a DREAM Act that was pushed through by Congress. It is President Trump who is telling Congress that they must pass some kind of a DREAM Act now. That's the reversal. And it was the tough talk of candidate Trump that stopped the border crossings. Once they started pandering to the DACA people, that was when we saw the border crossings going up. So when President Trump asked her, why don't you have a solution? How is it still happening? The solution is sitting right there on your desk, President Trump. The same solution you just took with the Iran deal that was put together by Obama and not passed by the Congress either. You just throw that deal out. And you get a Homeland Security Secretary who will enforce the law and the border as they exist now. But she's not doing this. Breitbart points out that DHS Secretary Nielsen is begging asylum seekers in other countries. Oh, come in. This is exactly what Obama did. That's why they called it the Obama effect. And then we had the Trump effect. It said, don't come in. We're going to send you back home. We're going to block the border, whatever. But now we're back to the Obama policies. She was bragging about this during a Senate Appropriations Committee hearing. She said in the hearing, if you are fleeing and you have a need to come to the United States, please come to ports of entry. You know, we will process your claim here, she said. But if you come across the border illegally, you're broken the law, and we have to prosecute. It's the only way to keep our border, to have a border. She's so apologetic about this. Well, if you've got to come in, well, please do it this way. But I've got this law that somehow got to enforce. I've got to pretend I'm enforcing the law anyway. So please do it at the ports of entry. So if you have a claim, you have children, you're concerned for your life, go to a port of entry. You'll be processed. We have asylum law. But when you break the law, that's where it gets very difficult, because we have to prosecute those who break the law. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Some of the laws I just can't ignore. I can ignore some of them. I can continue with the process that Janet Napolitano and Obama started, called DACA. It wasn't a law. But she's now telling this, and it goes further than that. She also said that DHS was broadcasting on radio. They've got a campaign that you, the taxpayer, are paying to advertise people in Central America about how they can get around our laws. Look, it's bad enough when we've got activist Democrat lawyer groups going to the border and telling the caravan how they can get in. Our own Homeland Security Secretary is doing this with a taxpayer-funded advertising campaign on Central American radio. They broadcast a campaign in Central America to tell asylum seekers they're able to use ports of entry in the U.S. to claim asylum. Senator Shaheen asked her, said, are we messaging that to the Central American countries where many of these refugees are coming from? And Secretary Nielsen said, we are. We have a youth outreach program. See, all this DACA. Please come to us, MS-13, or even if you're a legal youth. Just come. Leave your parents at home or pretend that you're leaving them at home. We'll give you asylum here. We have a youth outreach program. You're talking about people who need political asylum, then why are you reaching out to youth? We're doing an internship with the Department of State. We're also working with local radio stations as well as the Department of State to try to message this. I'm sure the Department of State is very happy to comply with this. We had the State Department under Rex Tillerson spend $600,000 to do a propaganda campaign in Kenya to try to fight toxic masculinity with the young Kenyan boys. So I'm sure that we can also find some money for some other worthy causes for the Department of State. In this case, let's get some more DACA people coming across the border. She said certainly the embassies are messaging this, but again, if you have a legitimate claim, you come to a port of entry, you haven't broken the law. So yeah, I guess we can have radio stations send this out, and we can have President Trump himself saying multiple times, we love the DACA people. They're the best people. We're going to keep them here. So you start sending that message, guess what? They're going to start crossing the border. They're not stupid. They're just economic refugees. And there's a question as to how many people we should be bringing in here. You can't say that the border is closed when you keep doing that, because they'll just keep coming across. And again, this is a national security issue. Agents are sounding the alarm, Border Patrol agents in the Laredo sector are sounding the alarm after they recently apprehended 2 Syrian nationals who illegally crossed the border from Mexico into South Texas. See, if we can't tell who's coming across the border, just as the sad parents who illegally came here from El Salvador trying to escape MS-13 found, they moved all the way up to Long Island in New York. And guess what? So did MS-13. There's more than 400 known MS-13 agents up there, but the Immigration Department and Homeland Security can't send them home because the only law that they have broken so far is our immigration law, and we can't deport people for immigration law. So we got to wait until they hack somebody up, like this illegal immigrant father's children who got hacked to pieces by the MS-13, who came across the open border, because if the open border is open for him, it is also open for the people that he's trying to run from. And it is also open to people who might be terrorists coming from Syria or some other country that we have gone to war with and created enemies with. So we create these refugees, we create terrorists, and then we open our borders, and they're now catching Syrians coming across the border. But we can't use the military to protect our borders. Can't be done. When President Trump says do that, the military shakes their heads. Yeah, I don't know how to do that. I don't know where I could find any money to do that out of the record military budget that we just passed. It's more than the rest of the world combined. I can't figure out how we can do that. I can't see how we could build a wall out of the military budget to protect our borders. We're too busy with our empire, and we're too busy doing regime change elsewhere. We can't protect the borders. And then you have sanctuary cities demanding that ICE turn over the people in their custody to them and say, we've got some local crimes that they've committed, so you've got to release them to our custody so that we can process them on the crime. This is absolutely amazing. And ICE, at least in this case, ICE said, oh, they're criminals? Okay, well, that's another reason for us to deport them, and we're not handing them over to you. So that's good. You got Trump, it was back on April 29th, saying that he finds tax reform boring. That's what was reported by the New York Times. He said, yeah, tax reform is boring. I'm going to focus on immigration and on trade. Well, good. He needs to do that. That's what got him elected in the first place. And he started talking about that last night as he called out the vice chair, the deputy chair of the DNC, Keith Ellison, for wearing a T-shirt at a Marxist May Day rally. And in Spanish it said, I do not believe in borders. So President Trump called him out on that. But the question is, does President Trump's Homeland Security believe in borders? Does President Trump's Homeland Security believe in the law? Does President Trump's Department of Justice understand that a district federal judge cannot block him from undoing DACA any more than a federal district judge can block President Trump and say you can't exit the Iran deal? I'm still waiting for that to happen. Do you think that'll happen? Will we have some judge in California or New York or Hawaii or something say, you know what, we like that legacy of Obama, and even though it was just his signature and Kerry's signature on that Iran deal, we're not going to let you exit that. We're going to block that. That's what they're doing with DACA. It's the same principle. The ball is in the court of the administration. Don't pretend that you are going to run on controlling the border when you don't do anything to control the border. All right, welcome back. We're going to have Joel Skousen in the third hour instead of this hour, so we've pushed that back 1 hour. He will still be joining us to talk about North Korea, China, and what is happening and likely to happen in Iran. So before we get to Joel, I want to talk about what's going on with the porn lawyer. That's right, Stormy Daniels' lawyer. Before we do, though, I think it's kind of interesting what happened to Monica Lewinsky the last couple of days. She was going to an event, going to be a charity event. Once they found out that Bill Clinton was going to be there, she got disinvited. I find that to be very interesting from all these Me Too Democrats, don't you? Amazing bit of hypocrisy on their part. She started tweeting about that, how she was disinvited after Bill Clinton decided to attend, and so Lifestyle Magazine, Town and Country, apologized to her. They said, we apologize to Ms. Lewinsky and regret the way that the situation was handled. They did that, tweeted that out yesterday. And then she came back and said, don't try to ameliorate the situation by insulting me with an offer of an article in your magazine. So maybe that was something that was made privately, not on Twitter. They said the event in question appears to refer to the magazine's annual philanthropic summit, and the invite-only event was described as a gathering of activists and social leaders. You see, it's still the situation where, remember, Hillary Clinton came after the people, not that Bill Clinton even had a consensual affair with. And this is what a lot of the Me Too people have said, that, look, okay, he had a consensual affair with Monica Lewinsky, and that was the one thing that Ken Starr focused on. Ignored all the shady economic dealings that were going on in Arkansas, all the Whitewater stuff and all these other things. Ignored all the allegations of violent sexual assault and rape. Ignored all that stuff. Focused on a consensual relationship. And then in today's climate, a lot of the women are saying, yeah, but let's understand, this guy was president. He was decades older than her. She was a very young intern. And he used that position to intimidate her. And yet, all these people who stood by Bill Clinton, and as I pointed out before, it was the people who had come after Clarence Thomas. Remember Anita Hill? Coming after Clarence Thomas and turning that confirmation hearing into kind of a porn hearing in a way. What he was alleged to have done, some off-color jokes, if it true, certainly didn't rise to the types of things that we've seen done by the people affiliated with the Democrat Party. But immediately after that, after Anita Hill had accused him, and all the feminists had lined up with that, saying, "Oh, look, he made a couple of little off-color remarks there in the office, so he needs to be taken down from being Supreme Court justice." And within a year or two after that came the Monica Lewinsky and the other accusations from Paula Jones and many other women. Those other accusations, as I said, were violent assault, rape, and so forth. And Anita Hill and the other feminists lined up behind Bill Clinton when he was accused of violent sexual assault and rape. They lined up behind him. And Hillary Clinton, of course, called all of the victims of Bill Clinton bimbos. But then when you got real bimbos, like Stormy Daniels, who is, the celebrity whores who are accusing President Trump of this, they are feted like celebrities on all of the TV shows, all the Democrat politicians. They worship these celebrity whores, who really are bimbos. They're professional bimbos, celebrity bimbos. And look at the difference in the way they're treated. Look at the way that Monica Lewinsky is still treated, being rejected from this. Which brings us to Hillary Clinton. And as we pointed out, she's got that back brace now. One of the other things, and it was one of the most minor things, really, about Hillary Clinton, but it was a concern. Was there something that was affecting her that would keep her from being able to fulfill her duties as president? Does she have some kind of mental damage from the fall that she had a while back, or is there some kind of a degenerative situation? We saw her collapse, and they tried to cover that up, and now she's got the back brace that shows. So she's been wearing a cape. The 70-year-old has draped an $1,100 patterned Hermes cashmere blend shawl around her shoulders for the last couple of days after people pointed out the pictures where she's got the big back brace showing underneath her pantsuit. So the question is, what is up with Hillary? I mean, the fact that she is elderly at 70, was not necessarily a disqualifying thing. But when you saw the way that she couldn't control her head movements, the various things that were happening with her eyes not converging,